So joining me to muck the week is GB News presenter Darren Grimes. Grimy Grimes. Grimy Darren.
Hiya, Nana.
Yeah, you're grimy.
I am very, incredibly...
Right,
especially at the weekend, Nana.
No, anyway. So Darren Grimes, what do you make of... Did you listen to the budget? Did it shout at you and say, this is a good thing for the Tory party? Have they announced anything that...
Absolutely not. And the polls reflect that people are just so completely disillusioned. You know, Reform are only 5 points behind the Tories now. Tories at 20% in some opinion polls. To me, right, it was fiddling whilst Rome burns, right? It was focusing on a 2p national insurance tax cut. They were talking about scrapping national insurance altogether. Well, listen, you had an 80-seat majority, mate. What have you done with it, right? It's been sweet naff all. And I'm afraid to say that the British people are just losing patience. A 2p national insurance cut, they're not going to feel that with inflation at levels we've experienced over the last year or so. So
it's only helping those in work as well. So
yes, exactly. And I think it was unfair for some commentators, and dare I say there are far too many of them, who say pensioners need to start paying their fair share. Pensioners already pay tax. I think that's something that's forgotten all too often. We have this vision in our head of pensioners sat in wealthy mansions, you know, millions of pounds worth in assets, sat there with all sorts of taxpayer benefits, but they are actually taxpayers if they earn over a certain amount. So I just don't buy that they're living in a land of milk and honey. There are struggling pensioners out there. I think the only funny thing from the budget was Jeremy Hunt's basically his jibe at Angela Rayner over her capital gains tax potentially being liable for £1,000 after she sold her ex-council house that she bought under right to buy, a policy, Nana, that she, by the way, now opposes. She wants to pull up the ladder behind her and deny everybody else, like my mother, who bought her ex-council house under right to buy. So I thought, no, it was a missed opportunity, and I'm afraid now they were in Last Chance Saloon. Now they're, you know, drinking at the bar, ready for the bar to go down with them, I'm afraid. They'll be under the bar.
It's really, you know, and the thing is, for a lot of people, they are Conservative voters.
Yeah.
They support the Conservative Party. When you listen to any of the commentary on the radio or anything, normal people just talking, saying, I just can't vote for them.
No.
You know,
he opened his speech by saying £1 million for a Muslim war memorial.
I know. What was he thinking? If you're going to do that, which I don't think you need to do, and as Nigel Farage pointed out, all the war dead are buried in the same place. We are all the same. We are united in death. Yeah. There shouldn't be one race or one group above another. It's not necessary. £1 million, and you kick it off with that. I don't know. I just don't know what they were thinking with that. This is almost as bad as Theresa May when she talked about fox hunting, when it's like, well, let's just don't fox hunt.
Just why bother, you know? Why? We already have Commonwealth War memorials, which is right and proper. We already celebrate the fact that if you are here in this country, you're a British national, right? If you've been here for generations, if you've served in the British Army, you're a British national. I don't understand why we need to segregate people, especially in an age of increasing secular tension where religious sectarianism, with the election of George Galloway, is becoming all too frequent. So I just think this is the wrong move, and the Tories are being appeasers, and it won't help them. Well,
of course, George Galloway will be being interviewed on GB News. I think it's at 6 o'clock after my show tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Neil Oliver will be taking him on. They do talk a lot. I know I've seen some of his podcasts and things. And I think George Galloway's right, that there will be smaller parties. I don't think this is a foregone conclusion for the Labour Party.
Well, we'll see.
At all.
It's going to be interesting
at
times.
All. But on a slightly lighter note, as we move on with Meghan Markle, who appears to have dropped her PR company, or they've dropped her. We'll come to her in a minute. But Gary Goldsmith, have you been watching any of Big Brother?
I have. I've caught a bit of it, Nana, yes. And I actually think the royal family, the Buckingham Palace especially, will be breathing a sigh of relief with him being booted out.
Why?
Because actually, I think, basically, he suggested that if Kate announces anything whilst he's in there, he'll then, you know, do a sort of tell-all on what's been going on and her illness and all the rest of it, having spoken to her mother and all the rest of it. So I think Buckingham Palace will of being on tenterhooks, sort of absolutely living life in peril, fearing what he's going to say. He called for Meghan and Harry to lose their titles. Now, you and I can say that, but a member, albeit a distant member of the royal family saying
that... But he's not
that's
really.
News.
He's not a member of the royal family.
Well, I know. He's not.
He's a normal person, so he can say he has the similar
You say that, but then he's marketing himself. What I found him to be quite an arrogant, narcissistic
But he's clever.
man.
He's clever. He's got his own business. He's got his own money.
Yeah.
He's rich.
He's made money. Yeah, absolutely good for him. But he was saying things like, I'm a hated man in Britain. I'm sorry, I didn't know who he was, and I doubt many viewers and listeners knew who he was either. I don't think you are a hated man in Britain.
Maybe he's talking about the royal family.
Well, potentially.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. And now, the next thing that I talked about was Meghan Markle complaining on International Women's Day. I don't know whether you saw any of her speech.
Yeah.
It was quite funny because she was on a roll and then this woman interrupted her. It was really quite funny.
I mean, you would have to, right? And let's get you up on stage, Nana, next International Women's Day, and you can put her in her place. But honestly, I think this is a case of, well, frankly, how dare she say that? Because this is a woman, right, who in the final years of the late Duke of Edinburgh and, of course, Her Majesty the Queen's life, where Her Majesty the Queen, in some reports, had blood cancer. And the Duke of Edinburgh, of course, was very getting on in his twilight years. And she ruined those years, right? Her and Harry made their lives an utter misery through their own selfishness, kiss and tell through books and all the rest of it. And she wants to talk about hate online. What about all the hate that she put out about the royal family?
I know.
Accusing them of bigotry, racism, all the rest of it. She made their lives a living hell. So turn the other one. What a hypocrite, right? How dare she say anything like that? So I don't think anyone in this country... You said at the start there, Nana, she's hired a PR team to try and revive her image in the United Kingdom. Forget that, mate. You've got more chance of reviving, I don't know. It's going to be a complete nightmare for her in attempts to do that. And these people will be laughing all the way at the bank because it ain't going to happen. They will.
Another company will bite the dust, obviously, having taken a lot of money off them, and they still not... I think they'll end up quite broke if they're not careful. Now, what about India Willoughby?
Yeah.
Because... you don't have to call somebody by the pronoun they want you to call them. It's down to somebody can't tell you how that you should address someone. They can guide you, but they can't force you. And it's certainly not a hate crime, especially when you are the thing that they are calling you.
Well, Labour would actually like to if they get into government, they're talking about actually making misgendering and misogyny and all the rest of it, hate crimes and all these other things. But J.K. Rowling got involved in this, of course, and actually said India Willoughby is a man, biological fact. Immutable fact, you can't change that. That's the way things are. Now, for Darren to call a spade, she's been dragged through the press again. Now, actually, if you ask me, India Willoughby is a parody of what a woman is, right? This is an act. Now, you can wear what you want, and J.K. Rowling herself has said this, you can wear what you want, you can call yourself whatever you want, but you can never change reality. You can never change what is immutable scientific fact. And for saying that, she is dragged through the press. Her name is muddied and all the rest of it. Now, she's big enough, rich enough to be able to take the hit, but I find it so admirable that she is choosing to do this, because around dinner tables, in the book circuit world, in the media world, television world, she's been dragged by the former stars of Harry Potter, of course, whose careers she made, for saying things like this. But India Willoughby is just trying to do this for 2 minutes of fame, and it's working for her. That's
Have you seen him without the wig?
That's what I don't like. Well, yes, indeed. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Sorry, because I do. It's a parody of what a woman is. A woman is a biological reality, and that's what makes me a woman. Being able to have children, or being able to have the facility within me, or a womb, or the things, or menstruation, and also, you know, all the things that happen, menopause. These are the biological realities that make a woman, that make us different from a man.
But you saying that, you and I saying that, and J.K. Rowling, we're going to get put in prison, right? We're all going to be in the clink together, and what a time we will have.
I know, but they call it gender critical. But which prison? I might just decide I'm a man and go to a man's prison. I might have a great time. And finally, I failed the North Face quiz. Yeah,
brilliant piece, Nana.
You liked it.
Did you get your 20% discount?
I didn't get it. It was almost as though they blocked me because I said, there's a comment bit which you probably shouldn't comment. I was polite. I took a picture of my comment. I said, this doesn't feel right because you're forcing me to say what you want me to say and I can't move on otherwise. And then I got to the next page and it wouldn't let me go any further. Even when I logged out and looked back, the same thing. It was a loop. I was forced to watch all the videos again. I thought if I was there for another 20 minutes, I gave up in the end.
And this is all about diversity, equity and inclusion, right? It's DEI. And this is actually putting the corporate identity and the corporate shareholder responsibilities, apparently, ahead of actually making money and actually serving the audience with a good product. These jackets are pretty expensive jackets. If they want to give us all 20% off, you know, why don't they just reduce the prices a little bit?
Well, that's what I thought. And if you look at it, if it's true that ethnic minorities are predominantly less well off than their white counterparts, well, they're selling a jacket for 500 quid for. And the reason we don't go on the slopes is too damn cold.
But why is it racist to suggest that actually if black people primarily want to live in cities and all the rest of it, why on earth is that racist? I don't understand.